Hey, Fred, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the Amber May Show. So glad you're joining me today because I have an amazing guest, Christina Bobb, former Donald Trump attorney. She's joining us here today. She just wrote a book, and I am so excited to have her on today's episode. So in 2024, the election was a miracle comeback for Donald Trump against all odds, reclaimed the White House after facing an unprecedented barrage of legal attacks, government harassment. But as Christina Bobb reveals in her book, Defiant, the battle for America's future was far from over. Bobb's shocking personal accounts take readers behind the scenes of the infamous Mar-A-Lago raid, exposing unpresidential abuses of power, FBI agents breaking locks while offered keys, denying Trump's representative access by seizing privileged documents under a shroud of secrecy. She documents the relentless campaign of indictments, subpoenas, and the media manipulation to destroy Donald Trump and his silence. So on today's episode, that's what we're talking about. And we have some news headlines as well. So I hope you like, share, subscribe. Please repost if you have a chance to do so. That would be so wonderful. If you believe what I'm doing, please consider becoming an Amber May Angel. And the easiest way to do that is going to theambermayshow.com. Hit the donate button, donate whatever you feel you can donate. You can be a $5 monthly contributor by going to theambermayshow.locals.com or right here, subscribe on Rumble. You could also hit me a Rumble rant, and that would also help really support the program. I really appreciate that. This is a viewer, listener supported program, so all your help is greatly appreciated. You can find me on Telegram at The Amber May Show. I'm on True Social, Amber May, Frank Social, Amber May, pickaxe.com. Find me there as well. My Discord server is in the link below. And hey, if you haven't made the switch to Patriot Mobile, why not? They're the only Christian conservative cell phone carrier out there. Have access to all three major networks. Keep your name, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. With 100% U.S. customer service base, it makes switching easy. And the best part is when you use my name, Amber, you're going to get a free month of service. So go to patriotmobile.com/Amber or call 972-PATRIOT and let them know Amber sent you. That's again, patriotmobile.com/Amber or 972-PATRIOT and get that free month of cell phone service. All right, well, let's get the show started, shall we?
On the Amber May Show, the truth runs deep. Fighting for the lost, for the souls who weep. Breaking the silence, making a stand. A voice for the people across this land. Children stolen, lives betrayed. She won't back down, she's lighting the way. A beautiful warrior with faith so bright, holding the line in this endless fight. On the Amber May Show, the truth runs deep. Fighting for the lost, for the souls who weep. Breaking the silence, making a stand. A voice for the people across this land.
All right. So I thought we would do this post. Today in 1945, George Orwell published a devastating critique of communism. Animal Farm revealed why every communist revolution follows the same tragic pattern. And I thought we would go through this thread. I thought it'd be kind of a fascinating thing to do. So here we go. Let's see what this thread has to offer us. Okay, so revolution contains the seed of its own corruption. The animal overthrew their human farmer, Mr. Jones, to create an equal society, but the pig who led the rebellion actually adopted every human vice. They slept in beds, they drank alcohol, walked on two legs until the final scene where neighboring farmers can't distinguish between the pigs and humans at a dinner party. I think I read this book. It was a long time ago, so I'm like kind of vaguely remembering this, but I think I read this book. So let me know in the chat. Did you read Animal Farm growing up? I think I read this in high school. Power corrupts incrementally through small compromises. And after the revolution, the pigs justified keeping their cows' milk and apples as necessary brain food for leadership. The first small inequity sets a precedent that escalates step by step to mass execution, and Napoleon, the pig, becomes an absolute dictator. The language becomes a weapon to control reality itself. Interesting. The pig's spokesperson, Squealer, secretly changes the farm's written commandments at night. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall drink alcohol to excess. This eventually culminates in an absurd contradiction. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And don't we see that to be true even today? We have the upper echelon, the people that are above the law, and then the rest of us. And as they make financial decisions and print more money, you and I have less and less buying power, which makes our way of life, our trying to maintain just the way of life we have, being middle class, harder and harder to do. So ignorance is manufactured to enable oppression. Don't we talk about this all the time in education? Didn't we talk about that with George Carlin? And he says, pretty soon, all you're going to need is a number 2 pencil to get into a university. So it's by design. Remember, we talked about this with Lady Hamilton R. We've talked about this over and over again. They don't want us to be educated. They just want the worker bees to just know enough, but not enough to realize what's going on, that we're getting screwed behind the scenes. So Napoleon, the pig, raises puppies in isolation to become his vicious guard dogs while deliberately keeping other animals illiterate so they can't read the alternate commandments. Remember, our school children right now can't even read when they graduate high school at reading level, far below reading level. Wow. Historical memory can be erased and rewritten. Snowball, a pig who heroically led the animals in battle and designed the windmill, is later portrayed by Napoleon as having been a traitor in league with Jones from the beginning. The revolutionary anthem, Beasts of England, is also banned and replaced with songs praising Napoleon. Propaganda is more powerful than physical force. Squealer the pig constantly threatens that Jones will come back if animals don't obey, while presenting false statistics showing increased food production even as animals starve. Remember, we did that whole thread with that Carvel family that controls a lot of the food manufacturing, and then we have China that has a lot of the farmlands, and I said whoever controls the food controls the people. Oh my gosh. So they believe their suffering serves the greater good. Greater good, that's a communist idea. Scapegoating enables political manipulation, and we're going to be talking about that today with Christina Bobb a little bit. When the windmill collapsed in a storm, Napoleon blames the exiled pig Snowball from sabotage. After that, everything from missing egg to broken tools is blamed on Snowball, deflecting from Napoleon's failure. They did that in World War II. They blamed everything on the Jews. Fear and violence reshape consciousness itself. Napoleon uses his trained attack dog to force animals to falsely confess to conspiring with the exile Snowball, then executes them publicly, creating such terror that even questioning orders become unthinkable. Mass conformity is engineered, not neutral. The sheeps are trained to mindlessly chant slogans and drown out dissent by bleeding for 10 minutes on end. They easily watch the four-legged good, two-leg bad, or four-leg good, two-leg better when the pigs start walking upright. The working class loyalty becomes their exploitation. Boxer, the hardworking cart horse, whose motto is, I will work harder, and Napoleon is always right, collapses from overwork. Instead of retirement, Napoleon sells him to a glue factory for whiskey money while telling the animals he died in a hospital. Wow. That is so true. And I have this video that I want to share from Nick Freitas that kind of talks along the lines of communism in the United States. Here we go. Oops.
So I've got some exciting news for all of the Democratic Socialists that are super excited about Mamdani up in New York City. You can already live as a Democratic Socialist within the United States. Yeah, you don't need to elect them as mayor. In fact, you don't need to change any politician, rule, regulation, or law for that matter. You can right now get together with a bunch of like-minded people, purchase some property, own it all in common, set up enterprises which you also own in common, and then produce goods and services for your own consumption or for trade. Yeah, you can already do it all. In fact, such communes have been established dozens of times within the United States. Now, they have all failed. at least for the most part. And the reason why was because the one thing you're not allowed to do in the United States is force people to stay on your commune. And it turns out allowing people to leave when they no longer like the results is kind of the poison pill for socialism, which you would think would inform us a little bit on the problems of socialism.
Boom. He is so clever. I love his videos. Nick Freitas, if you haven't followed him, you should make sure you follow him. Hey, I'm going to get to that thought in just a second, but right now I'm going to take a quick break. One of my other good friends, Dr. Artis, he has this healing conference coming up. Dr. Artis, Dr. Group, Ely, and Schmidt, they come together for something greater than themselves, each bringing something unique and powerful to the stage, a healing message, not just of hope for humanity's future, but a definitive pathway that everyone is capable of walking in order to transform disease and darkness into bright, shiny, healthy light. They will teach you how to take control of your own health by sharing natural, simple healing solutions for the whole family. So the conference is coming up October 23rd through the 25th. It's in Dallas, Texas, October 23rd through the 25th. If you go to healingfortheages.com and use promo code AMBER, you're going to save money at checkout.
I'm Steve Gruber from Real America's Voice, and you're watching The Amber May Show.
Hey friends, if you're looking for a doctor you can trust, look no further than Dr. Stella, and you can find her at drstellamd.com. Let me show you one of the areas that I love about Dr. Stella. I enjoy supporting the immune system, especially when it comes to cold and flu season. And I love the COVID Light, the COVID Sleep, especially if you're having trouble sleep at night. Get that COVID Sleep. It'll help you so much. So not only are you supporting the immune system, but it also helps you get a good night's sleep. The COVID Spray is super easy. COVID Vites, these are my favorite, the COVID Vites. She has placed vitamin C, D, zinc, and quercetin. And we all know that that zinc helps support the body's immune system, but zinc needs a delivery system. So that quercetin is the delivery system to drive that zinc in to help your body heal faster and feel better. Also has COVID vitamins for kids as well. Hey, and if you're looking to get ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, or you just feel under the weather and need a doctor you can trust, set up a telemed appointment with her. And the best part is when you use my name Amber or Amber May at checkout, whether you need your COVID Vites or a telemed appointment, you will save money at checkout. So don't forget to use promo code Amber or Amber May at checkout to save some money. So go visit drstellamd.com and then use promo code Amber or Amber May at checkout to save some money. You are listening to the Amber May Show, and now we return to the show already in progress. Now, True Social, Donald Trump just posted this on True Social, and it said Donald Trump broke the Democrat Party and he exposed it for what it was. Do you believe that to be true? I'll be looking in the comments below or in the chat. Let's watch this clip as he talks about how Donald Trump's quote unquote broke the Democrat Party. But does this mean we just sit behind and do nothing? And because Donald Trump won? No, they're still coming after us. This attack is still real. Communism is still a big threat in our nation, especially, you have the mayor Mandami, or a guy running for mayor Mandami, who's very outspoken communist. And then you have Gavin Newsom in California, who's a secret, not super secretive, but he doesn't just come out like Mandami says, but he kind of believes a communist rhetoric too. I mean, the failing states in our nation, the ones that are going bankrupt, the ones with high crime, the ones who keep taking more rights away, those are gearing towards a communist revolution in their state. I mean, they're turning from a free-loving America to a communist state. And that's why so many people are coming to Arizona, but then they bring their policy. So don't California my Arizona. You left one state. Stay there if you love the policies. Don't bring it here. Same with Florida, right? So here we go. Here's this video.
His legacy, he broke the Democratic Party. And he exposed it for what it was. It was a bi-coastal elite party with a bunch of billionaires who spend lavishly and a bunch of subsidized poor and a professional class that feels frustrated. They make $200,000 and $300,000 a year, but they live in these blue cities that are very expensive and they can't buy their beautiful home. That's what the Mandami constituency is: frustrated young white professionals. And then they've lost the working class. They've lost. It's not just the They have lost the muscular classes, Hispanic muscular classes, black males, white. As I said before, if you look at 2016, 20, and 24, Donald Trump's white vote, it's pretty constant. And he did not win the popular vote in 2016 or 2020. And his voting, and yet he did win the popular vote and the Electoral College in 2024 with the same percentage and actual numbers of white voters. So what happened? He picked up some women, he picked up some young people, and he got 55% of Hispanic males, and he got about 25% of black males, and he picked up another 10 to 15% of Asian males. And how could that be if he was supposed to be a racist according to the Democrats? It happened because they don't like, it's not that they're just people. They don't want to be talked to. Nobody wants to be talked to. And basically, this is a caricature, but the Democratic attitude toward a black truck driver or a Mexican-American electrician was something like this. Now, you don't know what's good for you, but those 10,000 people crossing the border every year every day, and the 2 to 3 million people that cross every year illegally in the Rio Grande Valley, they're going to be good for you. I don't care what you say about your schools being swamps, crime going up. They're good for you. Remember that. Now, men have a right to transition, and they are now women, and they're going to compete in your daughter's sports, and you don't know what's good for you because you're too ignorant. But I will represent you. I'm a black woman with a PhD. I'm a Hispanic woman that's your congresswoman. I am your white liberal Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, and I will tell you what is good for you. Got it? And then they'll say, you know what? You don't understand that gas at $5.50 a gallon is really good for you because the planet is heating up and the new Green Deal is going to save you. Get some solar panels and get on the team. So they talk down sanctimoniously, and that was never clearer when Barack Obama confronted those black Democratic activists, young men, and said, basically, you don't know what you're doing. You think Donald Trump's good or something. You've got to get out there and support Harris. You're suffering basically from Marxist false consciousness. And I, and as an elite, know what's good for you. And I will tell you, now go do it. That's what he basically said to them. For me, the locus classicus, the epitome of this is Pete Buttigieg. Everything about him represents what I just said. Sanctimonious, self-righteous, talk down. I know the answers. I know what's good for you. I am the transportation secretary. I don't think California is suffering from not enough freeways or it's too crowded. It's suffering from racist legacies of clover leaves. And I'm going to make non-racist clover. Nobody wants that. And that's what the Democratic Party, it's a Karen scold.
Yep. And doesn't that sound like a lot about what we just read from Animal Farm? Napoleon and the elite, and he talks down to them and he convinces them. And then he takes more for himself and less for the rest of the farm. Yeah. You know, today we're also talking to Christina Bobb, and I don't know if you know this, but she wrote a book, and she's been on my show before, so some of you probably do. Stealing the Vote, the inside story of the 2020 election and what it means for 2024. Now, she wrote this book. You can find it on Amazon, and we're going to be talking about her next book today, but along the lines of election integrity. Now, Donald Trump came out with this Truth Social post. And I would love to see this happen, but he's just the president. So how much power does he have to do this? I'm not sure. I would hope that Congress would codify this. I would hope the state legislators would. I mean, our state legislator here in Arizona, we're trying to do everything they could to provide more election integrity. However, we have a Democrat governor who keeps vetoing every good piece of legislation. It's been very frustrating. We had, for the first time in a while, we had this good group of legislatures here in Arizona and a horrible governor. And it just was not allowing us to make these good bills. So they put a lot of things on referendums, meaning that in upcoming elections, voters are going to have to vote on things and hopefully they pass. So that's how the legislators try to get around some of this. Not saying that they've done the mail-in ballots quite yet. I hope we'll figure that out. I hope the mail-in ballots become a small group of people that can't get out, people who are first responders, people that maybe are physicians and ERs, people like have these job positions that do not allow them to go and vote on election day. I hope these people get mail-in ballots. And so Donald Trump said, I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, seriously controversial voting machines. Thank you. Which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt. Now, I love this watermark paper. My friend, he's a senator now, Mark Fincham, when he was running for Secretary of State, he was all for this, and I was all for that. Watermark paper, and it wasn't going to cost Arizona very much money. I think he said when he was campaigning, please don't quote me on this, I think it was 25 cents per sheet. I was like, why aren't we doing this? So I think we need to have sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster, leaves no doubt, and at the end of the day, as to who won and who lost the election. And because remember the 2020 audit, we had to examine the paper in the 2020 audit. If we had this watermark, it would be so easy to determine what's counterfeit, what is not counterfeit. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at every level never seen before. By signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm election, remember the states are merely an agent for federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government has represented by the President of the United States tell them for the good of our country to do with their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender, and woke for everyone, and so much more. Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. Election can never be honest with mail-in ballot voting, and everybody, in particular, the Democrats know this. And I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are complete and total disaster, and it must end now. Remember, without fair and honest elections and strong, powerful borders, you don't even have the semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald Trump, President of the United States. Now, I know the Republican Party, the Maricopa Republican Party, is very much in favor of this. They're in favor of the 1 day, 1 vote, paper ballot only, hand count, local precinct level. This is what they're for. And I'll show you why. Because I'm about to show you a video. This is kind of an older video, but it's resurfacing because I think this was at McTech. I could be wrong at this location, but this location looks like it's at McTech. McTech is where we tabulate the elections, the votes. And this ballot drop box looks like, just from the parking lot, it looks like it's at McTech. Hopefully I'm wrong, because in this video, it's going to show you how many people dropped multiple ballots off in the drop off. And this is how the 22 election worked. And this is how you have people like Katie Hobbs and Chris Mays got elected. So this is being reported by The Real Robert. So let's watch this video, but pay close attention to how many ballots get put into the drop off, the official drop off. And let me tell you, there is a camera. There is a camera at this drop off location if it's at McTech. It looks like it's there, but I can't say for sure, but that's what it looks like to me. And there is a camera there. Go figure. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 1, 2. So they cut some of these off to speed up the video, but clearly the person before us got a lot more than 2. And that's the whole reason why we had that movie from Dinesh D'Souza, 3,000 Mules. Wow. How many ballots you get dropped off, Toyota? Look at this. Look at this one. They're covering their face too. Look at how many. Look at how many. Huge stack. Huge stack. Huge stack. Mail-in ballots is a problem.
Times have changed. Fighting has changed. But the crowd, they never change.
Our main event tonight features pain!
They just get bigger. The human body can only take so much. But the steel never stops.
This is what it's all about! Let's make some money!
Well, Hollywood always tells us what's going to happen just to prepare us and get us ready. Because now check this out. This is real now. It's not Hollywood. It's not fake. This is really going on in China right now. The first humanoid robot gains in Beijing. I guess humans won't be competing in sports anymore. We're going to continue to be fat and lazy. I don't know. I don't know what you think of it. You might think it's cool. I'm not really sure. Anyways, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have my friend Christina Bobb join us. Hey, I'm going to get to that thought in just a second. But right now, I'm going to take a quick break. Ever thought about having your own podcast? Let me show you how easy it can be. Worried about tech and the mic? I break it down in the course. Think about you thinking that you need some expensive studio. I show you the kind of studio and how easy it is and cost effective it is to start your own podcast today. Starting your own podcast can be overwhelming, and I show you the right steps to launch your show successfully. So join me at Podcast Like a Pro. I'm Amber May with over 20 years of experience in the broadcasting and podcasting world, and I could show you how to podcast like a pro because I am a pro. So become a pro just like me by going to theambermayshow.com. Look for the tab Podcast Like a Pro, and what's even better, prices have been slashed. Save over $100 when you use promo code AMBER at checkout. I slashed the price and I'm adding a promo code into it. So join now. Now is the best time to be a podcasting pro just like me. So go to theambermayshow.com, hit Podcast Like a Pro with the newer, lower prices. And don't forget promo code AMBER at checkout.
Hi, I'm Dr. Artis, and you're watching me live on the Amber May Show. Stay tuned.
Let me tell you a quick story that's important to you and your family's health. In 1963, the FDA banned a promising new discovery in the fight against cancer. Laetrile, also known as B17, was so popular among its consumers that some 70,000 plus Americans crossed into Mexico to smuggle it back into the United States, according to Newsweek. Laetrile was under constant attack by big pharma, big media, big government. Sounds familiar? Kind of like ivermectin. And just like ivermectin, Laetrile was both a solution and a problem. You see, Laetrile is naturally found in 1,200 plus foods, including apricot seeds. So Big Pharma can't make money off of it, and that's a big problem. In the 70s, Sloan Kettering, an American cancer research institute, found Laetrile was successful at preventing cancer and stopping it from growing. That's according to numerous sources at Sloan Kettering and researchers for the movie Second Opinion. So what does this mean to you? Well, I'm going to give you a source for Laetrile. So to find out more, go to the rncstore.com, and when you're there, use promo code AmberMay at checkout. You are listening to the Amber May Show, and now we return to the show already in progress. Hey friends, like I told you, we have our one and only Christina Bobb joining us today. Welcome back to the program. So glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Lots have happened since we last had you on. To recap, when we had you on last time, we were talking about election integrity. You wrote a book about it, and the book was called Stealing Your Vote, the Inside Story of the 2020 Election and What It Means for 2024. And then you were, what is the word, indicted by our attorney general? Is that the right word? I don't know what the right word is.
Yeah, that's true. A lot happened between then. But yes, I was indicted in Arizona by Chris Mays, your lovely attorney general. Thankfully, that indictment has been thrown out. So I'm part of the Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, John Eastman, alternate electors, that case. That indictment has been thrown out. They haven't closed that case yet because she's doing everything she can to try to destroy our lives, despite the fact that she has no evidence of a crime. And not only does she have no evidence of a crime, she has no evidence that any of us committed a crime. So she's going to have a hard time, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, my former state senator was part of that alternative elector thing. And I'm just like, and then Jake Hoffman, I don't know if you know him.
I do.
Yeah, he was involved in that too. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. And I came across this article in the Times of San Diego. We're going to get into your book, your new book, because that's what I really want to focus on. But I thought that it would be important information because your attorney was asked by Times of San Diego about your case. And I thought it was like, wow, this corruption at the finest. Here's Attorney General, the highest law enforcement officer of the state. And to me, I'm just like, you're kidding me with this. It said, citing public records, Jacob says DAGA, that's a part of like a Democratic organization, like an NGO, sent $50,000 to May's legal fund September 5th of 2023, long after Chris May's campaign was over, and just a couple months after the Attorney General's office signed a contract giving prosecutorial evidence to State United, which is the NGO. His motion said that the payment was also very close in time to the opening of the grand jury investigation, and DAGA made a second payment of $150,000 to May's legal fund on July 3rd of 2024, over 18 months after her campaign ended, and roughly a month after Bobb and her co-defendants were all arrested, arraigned, and publicly humiliated, his motion says. And despite DAGA making over only $25,000 in donations to the Arizona Democratic Party in 22, Jacob said, the result, he said, is a significant appearance of impropriety. And it sounds to me, based on this article, like she was paid to go after you. And that's what we're kind of seeing with Donald Trump. Like all these people were kind of paid to go after him. Like, what are your thoughts on this article?
Well, so it sounds like the article is covering our motion to disqualify Chris Mays, which is still pending. And that motion is based on payments that were made from DAGA, which is the Democrat Attorney General's Association. It's actually an arm of the Democrat Party. It's not an NGO. It's a
political it's not group. Okay.
No, it's a political group that is part of the Democrat Party, and they created what I can only call a shell company. I mean, I don't know how they would describe it, but same directors, same employees, same address, same bank account, same tax filing, but they used a different name. And then they created, that organization created States United, which Chris Mays says represents her in this matter. She claims that she claims attorney-client privilege with them, and that they are part of the prosecution team. And it's that same group that through the course of this prosecution was paid $200,000. They paid $200,000 to her. So it's not just so much that they paid her to go after us. And the standard for this motion is just an appearance of impropriety. I'm not accusing anybody of a crime. Looks like there could be some criminal activity, but that's up to the Attorney General to investigate if she's going to investigate herself. I'm not accusing anyone of a crime, but it appears improper that on one hand, she's receiving funds from the Democrat Attorney General's Association. And then on the other hand, she's allowing them prosecution power. So it's not just so much that they came after us, it's that they paid her, and in return, they received the ability to prosecute their political opponents. So it's a real scary place to be if anybody who wants to take you out can just pay the Attorney General and then they get the right to prosecute whoever they want. That's pretty scary.
It is scary.
I'm waiting for the court to rule on it. I mean, I think the court needs to say, yeah, this isn't okay. She needs to be disqualified.
So is it the state of Arizona that court is ruling on this? Or
yeah,
is it
Maricopa County. Yeah.
Oh, the Superior Court. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good luck. But
it's the same judge that threw the case, threw the indictment out. So he's already ruled in our favor twice, actually.
Okay,
he ruled in our favor on the anti-SLAPP, and then he ruled in our favor on the Rule 12-9 motion, which is to remand the case back to the grand jury. So he's been ruling in our favor.
Yeah.
But this one's a little, I mean, if he rules that it appears improper, which it does, it's a heavy ruling only because the appearance appears to be bribery, right? Like, I don't know that that's what it is, and I'm not saying that that's what it is, but it kind of looks that way.
I mean, when we look back on like the Stacey Abrams thing, that kind of looked the same way. And I'm wondering, is Letitia James the same way? Like all the Comeys the same way? Like,
I don't know, but we've got the trail for Chris Mays, and the money didn't go to her campaign. The money went to her personal legal fund. So
this article kind of like, it was like, whoa, this does not.
It's a big deal. I'm really surprised that more media haven't picked up on it, but it is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, San Diego said, former San Diegan, I guess, because you used to live in San Diego. So they had some interest in this, and she used to live in San Diego.
Right.
I'm just disappointed. I was talking about election integrity earlier in the episode, and I know that's what you talked about before in your book. And it's sad because I think because of the 22 election that was stolen again from the people of Arizona, I totally believe that's why she's there. And it's sad that she's investigating someone like you and the electorates. And it just, this whole article made her look really bad. Like something is like not looking so.
And my
good.
guess is the article wasn't that bad compared to my motion. If people really want to know what's going on, you should pull my motion, because I would be willing to bet my motion is a lot more concerning than that article.
Oh yeah, I could tell that this definitely favored more of the Democrats.
Yeah, they're not even giving you the whole story.
No, but moving on, I am excited about your new book, and something that I didn't know that I just learned about your book. I had no idea that the FBI agents had keys offered to them, but they decided to break the locks instead. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about your new book that came out, and it's Defiant Inside Mar-A-Lago Raid and the Left's Ongoing Lawfare. I think this book sounds incredible. What do you want to share with us about your experience in Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, I think it is incredible. And just for your viewers, I worked for President Trump. I was an attorney for him. He did the forward for this book. I was his representative on site during the raid. I met with the Department of Justice and FBI months prior to the raid, cooperated fully with everything they wanted. And President Trump approved the book, wrote the forward. So there's a special note from the president in there to the readers. But yeah, I mean, this book it's a clarion call, to say, hey, we have a real significant problem with our justice system, not just criminal justice, although, it focuses primarily on criminal justice because it's about the Jack Smith investigations and the FBI raid and my Arizona case. I give those details. But it's also the civil system and the judges. In my Arizona case, I experienced some real significant judicial corruption that ultimately the judge was forced to recuse himself before he was forcibly removed from our case because he was advocating to the entire bench in Maricopa County that we all were Nazis and that we needed to be treated like Nazis, like, horrible, horrible people. And that's my judge. And so he clearly wasn't impartial, could not properly be an unbiased judge in my case. But yeah, so I go all the way through Mar-a-Lago, I've got my text messages, my emails, my communications, President Trump's conversations with them. All the dirty details are in there, and it's dirty. The whole thing, start to finish, is dirty. And it's not just Mar-a-Lago, although that is well over half the book, but it's also all the other Jack Smith investigations. I was part of the January 6th investigation as well, because I'd worked for Rudy Giuliani after the 2020 election. And I was subpoenaed to testify before Congress for the J6 committee. So it's all of the inner workings of all of those investigations, where they were trying to take down Donald Trump and anybody associated with him. Like that's the worst part, is they went after normal, everyday Americans who weren't political in any way other than we supported the president. And they really tried to destroy our lives, and they're still trying to do it. Arizona is still trying to do it.
Is it?
As well as Georgia. People forget the Fani Willis case is still open. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. They're all still going after Trump supporters. And all the while they're crying, saying, oh, Trump shouldn't weaponize DOJ. We shouldn't be doing this. Okay, well, then you should stop. If you really don't like this, then stop prosecuting us. But they don't want the media to report on it. They don't want people to know what's going on. So
Sidney Powell was in jeopardy of losing her law license, right? But that she, at the end,
I think she made it through. But I mean, John Eastman did. They disbarred Rudy Giuliani. They just recently disbarred Jeff Clark and Ken Chesebro. I mean, the vast majority of the attorneys involved were disbarred. I had my bar license challenged. I had to fight for it. But thankfully, they found no misconduct. I was so grateful because it was the same people that investigated John Eastman that were investigating me. And, they couldn't find a shred of anything that I had done that remotely came close to even unethical, forget about malpractice. So they had to let me go, but it's scary because, there are people who hate you. There are people who they want to disbar you. They want to disbar all these attorneys because they don't want people to have the ability to fight back. And it's the attorneys that really are the front lines in this to push back from this oppression. And so if they can disbar everybody who's willing to fight, then there will be no political opposition because there won't be anybody left to fight. And that's part of their tactic.
And I saw that tactic too with the medical licensing. All the doctors that were trying to be brave and speak out against the COVID. I mean, one by one, they were trying to go after their medical license. I mean, it made me so sick to my stomach to think that you could destroy someone's career where we're supposed to have this free country, where we're supposed to have this justice. And yet you could lose your law practice overnight just because you're going against the machine with debarring people. And then you could lose your medical license, the ability to provide an income from your head, just like being an attorney, right? Just because you are fighting the machine, and how scary that was. And I was just like, this does not feel like America. This feels like a communist nation where they're going after the political opponents. That was a very scary moment. I was so terrified, and I was so depressed during this time, and God, I saw God's hand too, because God told me to start my show up again because he needed truth to be out there. And he put me together with a whole bunch of other truth tellers, and he got me involved in the Reawaken tour with Clay Clark and General Flynn, people I would never have met other than a God thing. And so God was using and he's used you a lot. I mean, I am so glad that his hand of protection has been on you, where you were able to keep your law license. You've been in Maricopa talking about the election fraud, trying to uncover the truth and share the truth with people. And then they want to go after and silence you. And that got you in touch with the president of the United States. Like that was a God moment. Could you ever imagine yourself ever meeting and working for a president in your whole life? Like, could you have ever imagined that prior?
Well, I was working in news, and so I was hoping to be able to interview him and, get the interviews and get all of that. And I was working here in DC. So it made sense. But I mean, no, to actually get that first phone call from him was really cool and something really special. But it certainly was something I hoped for. Yeah.
Oh, I think all journalists hope that they can interview someone like that. Right. But if you would have seen yourself maybe 5-10 years ago, I don't know. Like that's an
5 years ago, I was in the middle of it. I mean, this has been going on for a long
You're right. You're right. I mean, time is
10,
really on by
15
fast.
years ago, maybe, but
Yeah, you're right. Okay, now I don't know the legal process of all this stuff. So did Donald Trump know ahead of time that they were going to come and invade his house in Mar-a-Lago?
No, nobody knew.
I didn't think so. So when they supposedly executed a search warrant, as they were doing that, I assume Donald Trump gave you a call and then you headed over there. Like, walk me through how that.
Yeah, so it wasn't President Trump; it was his defense attorney.
Okay.
But he called me and they were all in Washington D.C. And that's one of the things that I think people forget about this case is the case originated in Washington D.C. This was supposed to be a Washington D.C. case. They never wanted to bring an obstruction of justice charge against Donald Trump in Florida. There's no way they would ever win that case. Not a chance. They didn't want to bring it in Florida. This was supposed to be a case that they brought in Washington, D.C. And so I got a call from the D.C. attorney saying, I'm pretty sure they're raiding Mar-a-Lago. Can you get down there? I'm not there. Can you go see what's happening? Because I lived in Florida at the time. I worked for a president. Everything that I did was in Florida. But the part that was kind of bizarre about it that I'm hopeful, very hopeful that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are investigating now is the fact that this was a Washington, D.C. concoction. Because when I got subpoenaed, I had to come to D.C., I lived in Florida. I worked in Florida. I interacted with the president in Florida. I signed the certification in Florida. I worked with the Department of Justice and FBI in Florida. I met them in Florida at Mar-a-Lago. Everything I had to do with this case was in Florida. But when I got my subpoena, I was summoned to Washington, D.C. Why? Like they were creating something in DC. And that's something I think people need to be aware of and realize that things did not go as planned for the Department of Justice and for Jack Smith's team. This was not what they intended to do. It's not what they wanted to do by bringing this in Florida. It makes me wonder, I wasn't at the Department of Justice, but I can't help but think that the wheels were already falling off before Jack Smith was ever even appointed. Now, the media covered for him and the media made everybody believe that, he's on Trump's tail. He's got him. He was never close. We didn't know that at the time, right? Like I was terrified, like, holy cow, they're coming at us with the weight of the federal government. Like it was a terrible, horrific experience. But looking back on it now, they weren't even close.
Is that typical of them? So if they execute a search warrant and the defendant's attorney is there, is it custom practice for the defendant's attorney to be they're looking as they are in the house executing the search warrant?
Right.
Or is it customary that the defense attorney has to wait outside? Because I believe you had to wait outside. You weren't allowed to go in the house, correct?
Right. I wasn't allowed to go. Mar-a-Lago has a couple different buildings and they were searching in 3 different areas. And so I was forced to stay outside, but I could still see the traffic. I was interacting with them. So I was still involved, but I couldn't see what they were actually doing, for example, in the storage room or in the office. It's a little bit different because I don't think most search warrants are executed at an estate like Mar-a-Lago. It's normally like a house or an office building, something like that. And the defense attorney should be allowed in the area. They don't let them typically hover over what you're doing. But in this case, I thought it was particularly warranted because the FBI is known for falsifying information. And I even said to him, I said, it's to your benefit to let me watch because otherwise nobody's going to believe anything you're doing. Like it's completely fake. So let me see what you're doing and make sure you're not doing anything fishy. And they wouldn't let me.
That was interesting. So in your perspective, because you've been in the middle of this, right? Why do you think the machine went after Donald Trump and everyone else?
Because he was destroying them. I mean, they have built a system of control and financial manipulation where they control everything. They control the politicians. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. They control everything. And he was breaking it down. He was like, I can do this. He had enough force just in who he is and how he's already known that he didn't need to play the game within the system. So he was breaking the system. And they didn't like that. And he's done a very good job at that. I don't think it's over. You know, we need him to accomplish a few more things in this term, and I'm sure there will be spillover into future terms, future administrations. And so, you know, we need to finish what we've started, but he's already, I mean, we can see it even within the Republican Party. He broke the Republican Party. You know, he magnified it. And quite honestly, I would like to see it more magnified. I still think the Republican Party is trying to hang on to the old system, although a lot of that has been fixed. But you know, there's still people who like the way the game was played. So yeah, they didn't want him to destroy their money machine.
I mean, I'm so happy he's been going after the money machine. Cut their power off. They have no power if they have no money. No power with no money. Yeah. And I'm glad we found the USAID. I'm so glad, and that's been stopped. And I think exposing this with your case, exposing this money transfer between a Democratic Party and an attorney general, and it looks on the surface like she's getting paid to literally go after Donald Trump's opponents. When we expose things like this, and I hope more money and Act Blue, I hope we find more of this money and end up stopping it. And I've been praying a lot to God. I said, you know, there's people that are been above the law. You know that firsthand. There's been people above the law, and God, you're a God of justice. And my fear is like they're gonna escape again. But so I've been praying and asking God. I said, God, man, you're a God of justice. Can you bring justice to these people that have harmed children, that have stolen money, that have committed all these crimes, that have been protected for all these years? And that's my prayer to God, because I'm so tired of these corrupt people staying in power. And now that the grand juries are going to start, you being in the middle of do you think like we're actually going to see justice? I've been trying to like hold it in, not be so excited, because for so long we've been saying, we've been told we got them, and then we don't have them. And so what are like your predictions? Like, what's your gut feeling? Do you think this time it's going to work? Like we're going to get them?
Yeah, I do expect to see some indictments and prosecutions, 100%. For me, the question is, will it go far enough? Because you can't do one or two low-hanging fruit type cases. This was a systematic abuse of our justice system, of our intelligence community, of our government, and it needs to be completely cleaned out. So yeah, I definitely think I look forward to the day they make an announcement that they've got a couple indictments, and I hope there's many more to come.
I do too. What is one thing that you would like to share with us? Maybe that's covered in your book, maybe not covered in your book, about all the things that you've seen in the last 5-6 years?
Yeah. Well, it's a tearing down of political opposition, and they're using our court system, our justice system, to eradicate political opposition is what they're doing. And they're doing it by disbarring conservative attorneys who bother to fight back. Rudy Giuliani is a perfect example. He's wonderful, a very good mentor friend of mine who gave me an exclusive interview for the book. So I've got a bunch of interesting Rudy Giuliani facts in there. He's great. But folks like Rudy and Mark Meadows and John Eastman and Jeff Clark and Ken Chesborough, you know, they're trying to either disbar the attorneys who are fighting back or scare any remaining attorneys, saying you can keep your license, just don't get involved, stay out of this. And so the message is we have to prosecute these people. I mean, the only way they stop is if they're prosecuted. And so I'm thrilled to see that Pam Bondi's taking it seriously, and that, you know, we've heard that these grand juries have been formed. That's amazing. It's wonderful. But I will not relax or breathe a sigh of relief until I see a couple indictments.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I have to tell people on my show about this stuff, but at the same time, like, I don't want to get too excited. I'm tired of being let down. And the thing is, these people get on TV and say no one is above the law. The people that are above the law sit there and tell us no one is above the law. Yeah. And the sad thing is, there are people that believe that no one is above the law. And I'm like, what is the blinders on? Like, how do you still believe in this party, or the way things have been run in this country, that we really do have freedom? Like, it's hard for me to sit here and say, like, you see it on social media about people still believing in their party or still believing that this country is completely free, when we've seen the weaponize of government against its citizens, against a president, for crying out loud. I mean, I think they opened a precedent when they went after President Trump. So, like, sorry, Barack Obama, you can't really hide against presidential immunity on this one, because you kind of went after a president itself.
I mean, that's a great point. So many people are saying, oh, Barack Obama has immunity. No, he doesn't. And we know that because we now have a Supreme Court ruling on it. We have an opinion on it. And the presidential immunity is not absolute, which is pretty remarkable. It could have only been done this way because the ruling was against Donald Trump. They gave him immunity, but probably the narrowest version of immunity that, and quite honestly, I think it's appropriate. I think it is the right amount of immunity. I think the ruling was correct in the way it came down, but it's not absolute immunity. Had Barack Obama been the first one to be prosecuted, the chances of the Supreme Court saying, oh, a president has absolute immunity probably would have been much higher. So they don't have the ability to undo that at this point, which is amazing. It's great. But what they were prosecuting Trump for, remember January 6th, it was the January 6th case that created the immunity ruling issue, if you remember. And in that case, President Trump, the facts that they alleged, right, were the election had already occurred. President Trump supposedly lost the election, according to them. But for his remaining time in office, he tried to overthrow the incoming administration. That's what they were alleging. I mean, that's the January 6th. That's what they were claiming. Those are the exact facts of what Barack Obama is now accused of. It was after the 2016 election. Donald Trump had won, and Donald Trump was coming into office. They didn't want him to come into office, and so they were trying to overthrow the incoming administration. It is hard to create a fact pattern so clearly applicable. So, it's kind of, it's just what goes around comes. You reap what you sow, I guess.
That's it. You reap what you sow. And I sure hope they reap jail time. I really do. I want people to get this book. It's a book that I plan on getting myself. It sounds very fascinating. And you have a beautiful picture. I mean, that's a gorgeous picture of you. And it's called Defiant: Inside the Mar-A-Lago Raid and the Left's Ongoing Lawfare, Christina Bobb. Where should people publish this book, or where should people buy the book? Where's the best place for people to get the book?
Anywhere books are sold. Amazon is great. Barnes and Noble, your local. If you have a local bookstore that's carrying it, by all means, that's great. Just anywhere books are sold.
Wow. I want to thank you so much for coming on this program, sharing your time with us today. I hope that, your case here in Arizona is finally 100% done, and you could just focus your attention on other places that we really need you. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for being willing to fight. Thank you for sharing truth with us. Thank you for coming down to Maricopa County during election season and trying to uncover the fraud. I just want to thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. Thank you for your service in the United States Navy, right? You were in Navy?
Marine Corps. Yeah.
Marine Corps. Sorry. Ooh, never say that to him.
No, that's okay.
So sorry. But thank you for everything you've done for this country. And I bet because of your love for the country, it's even harder for someone like you to see it get so weaponized. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Take care.